wanted to start off tonight, actually, with an interesting conversation that's emerged today in football, and that is blue cards. Blue cards are reportedly coming into the game where if a player commits a cynical foul, so a counter-attack. We all saw it the other night when Nigeria played South Africa in the dying moments of the game. The Nigerian captain pulled down the South African captain. That type of cynical foul, they're now talking about receiving a blue card, which gives you a 10-minute sin bin. LB, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think this is a good step for the amount of times City get dragged down on counterattacks? Do you think this is going to help football create more goals, punish teams for breaching those rules more? What's your thoughts on the new blue card?
Oh, mate, I hate it. I hate all this change, yeah? We've had football for, what, over 120, 150 years, whatever it's been. Why is it now that we're just starting to make all these changes? Are we saying that football's been like not a good sport for the last 150 years and that now we have to make changes? What we're doing here? I feel like this is just like more like some sort of, I don't know what they're doing. But I don't like the rule. If you bring down a player, you get yellow card. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? People say, yeah, well, if someone's going through on goal, well, if it's a red card, then if you bring him down through on goal, there's goal scoring opportunity. Yeah, but LB, yeah, but this and that. Nah, man. They're just making it more complicated. And let's say this as well. Why are they making all these new rules where they can't even do the basics right? I've been more open to like changes in the. I probably wouldn't be more open, to be honest with you. But let's just say, for example, I would be more open to it. I would be more open to it if the referees were getting everything right. Yeah, and they were the best referees in the world. And we were like, yo, these referees, man, every single game, they're getting every decision right. Every game, they get a decision wrong. Every game. I don't even get me started on the dissent, yeah? Why is this, right? Why is a player going like this a yellow card? Can anybody explain to me why this is a yellow card? Who is that? Who is that upsetting? Who is that upsetting to cause a yellow card for a player going like this? And by the way, yeah, the last couple of people that I've seen been booked for that, they've been correct because the decision's been wrong. The one at Liverpool for United, Diogo Dalot, yeah, when he got sent off, he did that because it wasn't, I think they give a throw into Liverpool. It wasn't, it was a throw into United. That was in the 93rd minute, and that could have potentially cost Man United if Liverpool had scored. And he got sent off. Why is that a yellow card? And then it happened again. I think Nunes potentially got booked in a game. And again, he got what he was saying, Nunes, was correct. The referee got the incorrect decision. So how about these referees? I just think these referees and these people who run the game are arrogant people because they're making all these changes now, yeah, when they're not even getting the basics right. So you sort out your basics, yeah? How about, communicating better on VAR so legitimate goals like for Liverpool, for example, are not chalked off, yeah, and start getting stuff like that right? Explain to me why this is a yellow card because it don't upset me. I guarantee it don't upset no one on the panel. But for some reason, that's a yellow card these days. Also for dissent, yeah? What happens if a foreign player says something to the referee in a foreign language that the referee doesn't understand? How's that going to work? So is he just going to get away with it because he said something to the referee in a language that the referee doesn't understand? But how is it going to work? So listen, I just think it's a load of nonsense. Nothing wrong with the current rules of yellow cards and red cards. I think it's a load of nonsense. Often, go on, Don.
It's gonna allow people to cheat, man. It's gonna allow people to cheat, Terry. Like you're not getting a real punishment because if you're sent off for what is it 10 minutes that they're saying that you're gonna be in a sin bin, right? The team can just basically put a low block for 10 minutes and then wait for you to come back. You know what I'm saying? If someone's threatening in a threatening position and again you get done for dissent, it's like sometimes you can get a solid yellow or you can get sent off at times for those sort of decisions. But if you're doing it deliberately, you're playing the game in a way. They're allowing you to play that game and basically to cheat in a way because you're not going to get sent off. You're just going to get sent off for 10 minutes and you're going to come back on. You know what I mean? So I'm not for it, man. I think it's
important. I think David said it backstage. If you do it, I would assume 2 blue cards means a red card if it remains blue, because otherwise you could do it 2 or 3 times in a game. Where I play devil's advocate is this. It was only in 1970 at the World Cup that yellow cards were introduced to the game. It was only in 1984, I want to say. No, that's not true. In the late 80s, early 90s, when the back pass rule was removed and you couldn't pass back to a goalkeeper. So these types of rules have been implemented or rules have been changed before. Goalkeepers being permitted to wear gloves as an example. And what I would say is that yellow cards and the pass back rule and goalies wearing gloves, they were treated with the same hostilities this one is being treated with now. So, you know, people of our generation, we only grew up with yellow cards. People that were in their 20s and 30s, you know, born in the 50s, that suddenly saw these yellow cards come in, thought it was a disgrace. They just said, well, if it's not a red card, you stay on the pitch. And if it's a yellow, you know, that's it. If it's not a red card offense, nothing happens. But we introduced that. So the question is, why is this different in your opinion, guys, than the introduction of yellow cards in the 70s?
Is this definitely coming in? Is it something that is, are they thinking about it, or is it coming in?
They're trialing it.
Trialing it.
What, where? In the Premier League or different, like, what's the
no, like women, I think it's women's FA Cup matches and men's FA Cup matches, and like, well, that's going to get there. So
it sounds like rubbish, man. It sounds like they're trying to Americanize the sport, and they're just trying to make it like football is already a global sport. Keep it as it is, and let's just keep it moving. Like LB said, make better decisions with what we've got already. There's too much going on where certain teams will do tactical fouls 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and the player won't get carded. Make sure you give appropriate cards for decisions where you know someone's purposely getting one over on the other team, instead of adding extra bits, because we can't referee what's already there as it is. Do you know what I mean? Games will make it taking 110, 120 minutes because there's so long VAR checks and all of this other stuff. But yet they want to add more stuff to it. It's mental. It just doesn't make sense.
I just don't get what's wrong with yellow cards. What's wrong with yellow cards?
What if, and I've been thinking about this, what if blue cards are a way to help VAR? Because you could effectively have a system where we say you review a decision for a minute and a half. If you can't come to a decision in a minute and a half, this potential red card challenge will then become a blue card challenge. So effectively, you now have a barrier between a yellow and a red. Because I think a blue is a halfway point between yellow and a red. So, for example, Gusto this season has had 2 times where he's made a tackle and he's hit a player's. Most people, when he got given a red card, said it wasn't a red card. But when he was given a yellow card for the second time he'd done it, most people said it was a red card. However, you would argue they're probably both blue card challenges. So my point is, could this be a way for VAR to almost help VAR with the whole it's slowing the game down and so on and so forth, and say, well, if we can't come to a decision within this time limit, we'll give you a blue. And then it just kind of works in that way. That could be again, when I was first told about VAR, my uncle knew someone, I don't know who, but he worked in what was it? It was like how you manage change in a sport, like how you manage change in like a game, for example. And he was talking to me about how progressively VAR is going to get introduced, and it will start off probably a bit well, maybe not too well, then it will get worse, and then they'll go through everything that can go wrong with it, and then it will get better. This might be another step in making VAR.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, for years, the one thing I've always despised is yellow cards for cynical fouls and counterattacks. I don't think a yellow card's enough, because you can never get, and generally most of those counterattacks, you've got a numerical advantage. You never get that advantage back just because a player's been booked. And sometimes it can take a player 2 or 3 of those cynical fouls, if you're named Rodri, to even get a yellow card in the game. So for me, this works as long as the blue card is issued, whether it's 30 seconds into a game or not. You start a game away at the Etihad, and you have a little breakaway, and Rodri pulls you down on the halfway line as you're running past him, and suddenly now he's got to miss the next 10 minutes. Yes, City could sit behind the ball and play low block, but that would be a rarity. I think it could open up the game. I think it could make the games a little bit more interesting, and maybe it will stop those. We all get angry and frustrated at those cynical fouls because we know that a yellow card isn't enough. So I don't know if it will work, but I've been saying for years, let's try it and see. You could be right. They might just sit behind a low block for 10 minutes, but if they're that defensive a team, they're going to sit in a low block anyway, and they'd rather sit against a low block of 10 than a low block of 11. Surely it's going to be a little bit easier. But I want to ask Michael, obviously new to the show today. A lot of people are saying we're trying to Americanize the sport. You're a Yank. Do you see it as being an Americanization, or do you see it as being a good step for the game?
It could kind of be an Americanization, because like I could compare it to basketball. If you guys watch basketball, like when you have a fast break, right, and you get automatically fouled, originally it was just a common foul, but now they allow the other team to shoot a free throw if they call it like a take foul, so they get an opportunity to score a point. So I get from that sense why football would want to do it, but I kind of agree with LB. You're giving more responsibility to referees that already have too much responsibility and have shown that they can't handle that level of responsibility. Like imagine Anthony Taylor, who has made about 800 wrong calls this season, having to decide what's a red card, what's a blue card, what's a yellow card. It's not something that you really know. And I kind of, with with transition fouls, that's just kind of like the dark magic of the sport. Like those little tactics, that kind of stuff. That's kind of what makes the sport beautiful. Somehow some players get away with it, like the transition fouls. They like have a way, like Fernandinho, for example, he knew a way to do them where he could not get a yellow card. Casemiro used to do the same thing at Real Madrid too. Obviously, at Man United, it's kind of been different. He gets booked for every single thing. Maybe that's perception, but it's those kind of things that also make like the dark magic of football. That's what kind of makes those teams like Diego Simeone, right? Atletico Madrid, they would suffer from this rule. They'd be having like about 10 blue cards a game. They might be down to like 5 men in a football match. What happens then? You have like an 11 versus 5. That then they have to kind of figure out a way to be very solidified about this until they really start adding it into football matches. I think they should actually start doing this like in youth matches first, in that kind of level, before they kind of go to like the Premier League, FA Cup, that kind of stuff.
Bro, I agree. I think it's part of the game, man. I think it's like, and listen, it happens to us a lot. You know what I mean? It happens to every team. Let's not pretend like it only happens to one team. It happens to every team. Every team is going on break and then you get took down. I just think it's a part of the game and they get booked for it. And if you don't get booked for it, that's the referee's fault. Get the referee to sort it out. You know what I mean? So I just think that, like, I don't really see what the point of this is, to be honest with you. I think, again, it's just a load of nonsense. I just don't get it. I do not understand why this is needed at all.
I hear you here. This says that Rodri will never get 90 minutes ever again. That's just true. He's a very cynical fella.
And he gets punished for that. He gets punished for it. If
he gets away with a lot, Rodri.
Bro, he's already had one. He's had a red card. He's had a ban.
That's because he strangled someone, though.
No, but he's already had another ban since then. He's 3 yellow cards away from another ban, 2 match ban. So he gets his.
Yeah, but he does a lot. He's like a lot of the again. You're the most successful team in England currently, so you get away with it. Certain teams have players. Gerrard got away with it like you wouldn't believe for Liverpool. That man, I mean, he could commit assault on the pitch, and the referees would probably sort of come and bandage his hands up for him and say, "Are you okay, Stevie? Are you okay?" He got away with a lot. I hate tactical fouls. I welcome the blue card, is what Harold says. Halftime hooks, the studio hooks. He changed his name. Big up yourself. He says, couldn't this be abused? No more subs left. Tired players get a 10-minute break to re-energize. If it's a 10-minute break with less players on the pitch, nobody would want that.
However, if you get a blue card in the 93rd minute and you've only got a minute to go.
How does that work? Yeah, does that roll over to the next game or what?
No, you just at the end.
LB hates this. LB hates this.
Yeah, roll over.
I hate it, bro. Proper hate it.
Start the game with a lineup. You've got a blue card next to a player. You can't come off it with this.
Yeah, even if you like, oh no, we won't start him then. Yeah, well, when you sub him on, the second he touches the pitch, he's still got 3.5 minutes to serve. You know what I mean? He can't come on. It's been tried for 2 or 3 seasons in lower leagues, and for instance, descent bookings have fallen by 40%, including tactical fouls. So yes to blue.
Look, yeah, obviously bookings are going to fall though if they've included a blue card, isn't it?
No, but what he's saying is that the amount of offences, I think he means, for tactical fouls and dissent has dropped altogether. But that's a good point. It's
I like me a tactical foul though. That's the thing that I don't like. Like if I'm getting countered, I want you to foul the guy. Like what? You're gonna let him score because you're trying to avoid a blue card?
So I agree. I agree, but a lot of these rules have ever been brought into football. Like the pass back rule came in for the simple reason of trying to create more goals in football. Because if you go back to the great Liverpool team, they go 1-0 up and they spend the rest of the game just passing the ball back to their goalkeeper. Once the goalie picks it up, you can't do anything. And there was no time limit for how long he could hold the ball. So time wasting was a thing. They brought time wasting rules in because teams would take 2 minutes taking goal kicks, legit. So I'm all for this if it creates more goals and more exciting games, but it's got to be tested properly. They can't just throw it in without it being, I don't like saying this about referees, but semi-perfect. It needs to be really good, but I get the challenge. In any system, adding variables creates problems. When those variables are administrated by the PGMLO referees and subjective ref's opinion, outcomes will be bad, not Americanizing. It's admin, an admin circle jerk. Thank you there, Docs and Coffee.